everybody, welcome to the Empressive channel. There are a couple of topics I want to talk about in this video. First, starting with the co-host from The Real, Jeannie Mai Jenkins. Jeannie Mai recently opened up about her wedding on The Real, and I thought some of the reactions from the co-hosts were a little bit interesting, and I'm going to get into that. But first, I want to talk about Jeannie Mai's wedding a little bit. Now, for those who don't know, a few weeks ago, Jeannie did get married to the rapper and entrepreneur Jeezy. They had a beautiful, intimate wedding. Only their close friends and family were there, and their wedding looked beautiful. Based off of the pictures I've seen, they looked really nice. I like Jeannie's dress. I thought she looked beautiful, and Jeezy looked dapper as well. They look good together, and you could tell that Jeannie actually loves Jeezy because the way that she talks about him in comparison to how she talked about her ex-husband Freddie is totally different. I mean, she even took on Jeezy's last name, and she didn't do that in her first marriage. She didn't take on Freddie's last name. So I thought the differences there is quite interesting, but it's clear that Jeannie truly loves Jeezy, and I do wish their marriage well. Now, I want to talk about this latest episode of The Real because Jeannie did talk about her wedding on the show, and I thought the reactions from some of the co-hosts were rather interesting. When Jeannie was discussing the details of her wedding, their reactions were kind of dry. They weren't overly excited like they were when Adrian got married. Their reaction to Jeannie's wedding was a little bit different. And while Jeannie was talking about her wedding, you could kind of see the looks on their faces. They were grinning, but it didn't seem like they were overly excited. Lonnie was very quiet, and she had this plastered on smile the whole time, but it didn't seem genuine. It kind of seemed like she was trying to be polite. And the same thing for Adrian and Garcelle. They smiled a few times and grinned mostly, but it just seemed like they were trying to be polite. None of them were overly excited about it. And I kind of feel the reason why they weren't excited is because they weren't invited to the wedding. Jeannie and Jeezy actually had a secret wedding ceremony, and only their immediate family members and close friends were invited. Now, I could be reaching. Y'all know I do tend to reach sometimes, but I kind of feel like the co-hosts, especially Lonnie and Adrian, felt a way about not being invited because they are close to Jeannie. At least that's what I thought. I do understand Jeannie and Jeezy were weary of inviting too many people because of COVID restrictions. And also it seemed like the wedding kind of happened very quickly. So they decided to do a mini ceremony first, and later on they might do a bigger wedding celebration, but they kept it really small. And I understand why they did it, but I could understand why Lonnie and Adrian and even Garcelle may feel left out because they are friends with Jeannie and they weren't invited. And they probably didn't know she secretly got married until big publications like People and Vogue did a cover story on the whole wedding. So Jeannie gave details about her wedding to other publications before giving details to her co-hosts. I mean, at least that's what it seems like, because from watching this episode of The Real, it seems like the ladies had no clue about the details of the wedding. So I think the real reason why their reactions were dry is because they didn't get a chance to experience Jeannie's wedding. Now, when Adrian got married, the reactions were a lot different. The ladies were more excited because they actually were there at the wedding ceremony. And Adrian's wedding was very intimate as well. She got married overseas in Paris, and she only had her close friends and family there too. But guess who else was there? Her co-hosts, Tamara, Lonnie, and Jeannie. She didn't leave them out because she considers them to be her close friends as well. So the reactions to her wedding was a lot different because all of the ladies got a chance to be involved. And also Adrian gave The Real a lot of exclusives. So it was a big celebration, but Jeannie's wedding was actually done in secret, which is why the reaction wasn't the same. But like I said, I understand why Jeannie kept her wedding private because it probably was done very quickly, and it's still not a good time to travel and meet up in large groups because of COVID restrictions. But I could also understand if the co-hosts felt a way about being left out because they're actually friends with Jeannie. So they probably thought that they would be invited, but they weren't. And sometimes when it comes to things as big as weddings, people can feel a little funny if they're not included. But those are just my thoughts about it. Now on to the next topic. I want to talk about the singer Keri Hilson, because recently she did an interview and she revealed that she came in contact with Beyonce and they both resolved the misunderstanding that they had between each other. Now, if you don't know the history between Keri and Beyonce, I actually did a whole video about it, and I would highly suggest that you watch this video to get full context of what happened. But just to kind of summarize it, Keri's team leaked a diss track that she made against Beyonce, and it was called the Turning Me On remix. And this diss track did spark up a lot of controversy in Keri's career because she went against the Queen Bee. And after Keri dissed Beyonce, she did go through different struggles in her career. She was blackballed in some areas in the industry, and this typically happens when somebody comes against a major artist with a lot of connections. A lot of people had affiliations and loyalty to Beyonce, so they didn't want to go anywhere near Keri, and that's how Keri was blackballed in some ways. Also, Keri went through a deep depression to the point that she didn't even want to make music anymore. It was really bad for her for a long time. But Keri did later on reveal on Out Loud with Claudia Jordan that she was forced to diss Beyonce because somebody at her label threatened to hinder her career if she didn't diss Beyonce. Now, this revelation was very surprising, but it was clear that her label at the time was trying to create some feud between her and Beyonce, but unfortunately, the whole situation backfired for Keri, and it did affect her career. When Keri revealed this, I'm pretty sure that Beyonce became aware of what was said, and this probably prompted her to come in contact with Keri. And Keri talked about connecting with Beyonce during her interview with Persia Nicole.
It's been some years since all of this Beyonce drama and stuff like that. If you had the opportunity to collaborate with Beyonce, would you maybe do something? Even if it's not on a record, like in a movie or whatever it may be.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. She actually has introduced herself. It was a gracious moment. I appreciated it. I feel like she understood what had happened, what had transpired, and there was a bit of healing in that moment when we met. And I think I take her as a very intuitive kind of soul, as am I. And yeah, I think that it would be probably a very fun experience to do that if she were open. But yeah, I do feel like she understood what that was all about. So yeah, she's amazing. I've always felt that way. That's the truth of the matter, but no one will believe that.
I believe it. I feel the energy. I'm a big energy reader, and I feel like you're just so over like the talk about that you just want to get to a point where you're like, you know what? Like, let's just squash it. Let's do something together. Let's give the industry what they need and what they want, and just go about our day.
Yeah, whether it's working together or not, like we can, see each other. We can see each other. I mean it in that sense, you know what I mean? We can understand and nod and there's, have a mutual respect, if not a rapport or anything else. I think at the very minimum, there can be that. That's always possible. And that's where I'm at, and I made a decision that was not authentic to who I truly am. And of course I regret it.
So that's what Keri Hilson had to say, and honestly, I think it was great that Keri and Beyonce had a moment to clear up any misunderstanding, because they both understood how these label executives are and how they like to pit people against each other, and they realized they both were played in the situation, especially Keri Hilson. So I do think it was a great thing that they were able to talk and have that moment of healing. Anyway, tell me what you all think about this video down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.